Cursed by the old gods in Bethany, we are four immortals taking on the impossible task of reviewing all the 1001 pieces of pop culture so we can one day die. This is episode 118!
Woo!
Woohoo!
Look at that!
Right? That's a big number.
What a number that is.
It's big.
It's okay.
Actually, I had nothing to say about it. I was wondering if this is going to transition to things I wanted to talk about, and it didn't.
It's actually kind of small as far as numbers go.
What do you mean? Like
there are
infinity?
Lots of numbers. Well, no. Not even infinity. Just like a
I
billion.
mean, on that logic,
billion.
it's also big as far as numbers go.
That's true, too.
So even when we hit episode 1001, you're going to go, it's not that big of a number.
It's not that big of a number.
It's going to be 20 years from now. You're like, it's not a big deal. Like, This is the end of the show.
Oh my god.
Anyway, I'm Austin.
I'm Sarah.
I'm Lee.
I'm Pedro.
And together, we're the Immortals. Every week we review one of the 1001 movies, album, food, songs, and TV shows you must consume before you die. Thanks to Pedro's impeccable math skills, we get a random number.
Sometimes I just make it up.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, there's no logic.
Actually, Sarah made up the last one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So if you didn't like something, I guess it's my fault.
That's true. We'll see how that plays out in the next hour-ish. But before we run down what those are, we did have a couple pieces of news, which is silly since we recorded in advance, but still wanted to bring them up because they're kind of a major stuff we've done. There was a celebrity death that was announced a few minutes ago before recording. Harry Anderson, who's best known as the lead of Night Court, but he was also Harry the Hat in the first season of Cheers.
Oh, okay.
Harry.
Yeah.
He was in a few seasons.
He was the con artist.
Yeah.
He was so
he showed up a couple of times.
It
Aw.
was my favorite side characters on Cheers. The whole thing. We covered that show long time ago, and truly, he was fantastically hilarious.
Harry was great.
And another thing that we covered is now going to be on the Criterion Collection, Sex, Lies, and Videotape.
Oh gosh, that movie. I forgot about that movie. That movie's weird.
Yeah, it is.
That's
What was
good,
that movie
but
about?
weird.
What was Sex,
Sex,
Lies,
Lies, and Videotape about?
Yeah.
No contact clues?
I mean, was it the guy that liked to record people?
Talking
Yes.
about sex and lies?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Videotape?
Okay.
That one.
Cool.
God damn it.
The one with the sex.
Alright. That's about it.
No, there are other people, too.
What?
The guy, the drill sergeant or whatever.
He also, he hasn't been in a thing yet, but yeah, the drill sergeant from Metal Jacket also passed
Has he
away.
not been in anything else that we've done? I guess not.
Milos Forman, brilliant director, died. He directed The Fireman's Ball, which we reviewed.
Yep.
We haven't weirdly hit Amadeus or The Cuckoo's Nest yet. Those are bigger accomplishment of his.
Mm-hmm.
But
I remember liking The Fireman's Ball. Or
Me
did
too.
I hate it? It was one of those.
Jesus Christ.
I think
I
back
liked it.
fondly on it.
Yeah.
But I may have not liked it while watching it.
Which one do you think this is?
The Fireman's Ball
Uh-huh.
has the fire extinguisher and drunk firemen not being able to carry out their duties as firemen at the end, which was real sad.
So you remembered the last 10 minutes of this movie?
Yes?
Alright. That's fine.
It was in a different language.
Check.
That's
It's a check
it.
movie.
Yes.
Yeah. Anywho, I think we just encourage everyone to go back and listen to our Ace reviews and all those things.
Yeah.
Oh, God, what are we doing, guys?
You're the one who brought us all together,
I don't
Austin.
know. This is a mess.
Oh boy.
Anywho, what the hell we're doing this week? The number this week is 480, and it's the following things. The movie is Badlands.
The album is Suzanne Vega by Suzanne Vega.
The food is sheep's head. I don't have it because it's gross. Why? I'm not eating a sheep's head.
Why not? We'll
No.
talk about that later. The song is Oh Superman by Laurie Anderson.
And for some reason, the TV show is Charmed. But first, let's get to something of quality, which is the film Badlands.
He was 25 years old. He combed his hair like James Dean. He was very fastidious. People who littered bothered him. She was 15. She took music lessons and could twirl a baton.
I'm Kid. I'm not keeping you from anything important, am I?
No.
She wasn't very popular at school. For a while, they lived together in a treehouse. In 1959, they murdered a lot of people.
The film Badlands is the debut film of Terrence Malick. Came out in 1973. We previously reviewed his second film, Days of Heaven. This is the story of baby Martin Sheen and baby Sissy Spacek, who go on the run after Martin Sheen kills her father. And if this sounds like a Bonnie and Clyde kind of movie, it weirdly isn't. Because, like most Malick films, it is a meditation on many more things and focuses its camera on beauty and dialogue all told in whispers. So it's not necessarily a suspenseful film as a misstep of how teenagers and young people are trying to emote themselves.
I find it somewhat suspenseful.
That's suspenseful?
Yeah, more than the fucking Wheat movie.
Well, yeah, but...
No, I mean, I felt like it had... I wouldn't say... Maybe suspenseful is the wrong word. It had a lot of forward momentum, I felt like. That there was a sort of inexorable
But it's not like a
spiral.
paranoid movie.
No, it's not. But, I mean, and certainly the last scene at the end, I think, has a lot of, action and, what's going to happen kind of feel.
So I'm going to take mostly a back seat on this review because Let's Take 5 is right now literally in the middle of a Terrence Malick 5. And I already spoke for a half hour about this movie. I want to hear your guys' thoughts because my thoughts are already recorded and on the same website. So, Sarah, how about you kick it off? Because you seem rather energetic about this movie.
So I really liked this movie. I was not excited because I was not into the Wheat movie. Days of Heaven, that's what it's called, right?
Yeah, good movie.
No, it's not. It's not a good movie. This is a good movie. The reason I did not like that movie is because I didn't give a crap about any of the characters, nor did I think any of the performances were particular standouts. Both of those things are, they couldn't be further from that. I mean, Martin Sheen is running around looking like baby James Dean as a Korean War vet who's clearly damaged and a mess. And also, like, a serial killer. Like, don't get me wrong. And Sissy Spacek is enigmatic and sort of, but also, fundamentally an expression of repressed sexuality and disempowerment. And they build tree houses with giant things that, giant, spiky balls that try and kill people, and the narration, which is apparently Malick's signature, is really interesting and powerful and gives this inner voice to a character who otherwise basically doesn't give a sense in the actual action of the film why she's doing what she's doing. I found it completely, entrancing. I loved it. Both performances are amazing. Their chemistry weirdly makes sense in that it doesn't totally make sense. You're not entirely sure why she's attracted to him in the first place or why he's attracted to her. But as the movie goes on, they become this pair that makes sense. And I wouldn't say you're invested in it, if anything. It's like, oh god, get away from him. He's a serial killer. For real. Also, he killed your father. But I was blown away by this movie. I loved it.
I did not.
No, I didn't know.
Okay.
It's okay to be wrong.
The Martin Sheen performance was great. The performances were more engaging than the Wheat movie. But I found I actually was into the Wheat movie more, into the characters and what they were about, because there was just more on the back end that made me believe them. Martin Sheen is borderland psychotic, if not just straight up psychotic, in a way that I don't see any emotion or driver in him. And it's not cool in, a Hannibal sort of way, where he's like, let's just see what happens, or I want to do things just because I want to do things. It just seems like he's a moron. He's I
want to push back on that a little bit because I think he is someone who, weirdly, I don't think he's a sociopath. I think he's just a bit ignorant about a lot of issues because he's someone who...
I'm sorry, you don't think the guy who kills, many, many people in this film is a sociopath?
Not to the level of Pedro saying, Hannibal Lecter, but
no.
He enjoys killing. There's something about this guy who... He just can't seem to handle authority, and then in a long point just can't really find any sort of life that makes sense for himself within this world. And what he's trying to do is kind of create his own world.
Well, he's following a vision that he has in his head
Yeah.
of the prototypical, bad guy, gangster.
But also caregiver and weirdly homeowner. Like, it's the things like, I want to have these things of adulthood, and that drives kind of what, in my mind, compels SpaceX to, like, follow him, be attracted by him. But as things
well, it's what she wants too.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a world outside of what she knows, and I mean, they're constantly going away. The whole movie, they're never going towards anything. They're only going away from something.
Mm-hmm.
But even in the end, she does the right thing. She's like, no, you know what? I'm going to stop going forward. I'm going to stop with this craziness. And then he decides to, be what do you call it? Fulfill this iconic vision that he painted for himself, which was cool. It was fun.
But I love the idea. Obviously, we're now in just spoiler territories of this 90-minute film from the 70s. But I like that her interest to kind of stop following him is not necessarily like afraid of being caught or like completely like disgust with all that's happened.
Mm-hmm.
I think the turning point for me about her is that great car scene where he's describing like, just so you're gonna get like a job, right? And, like, he just keeps writing like, oh yeah, I can get a job. I'll just go like coal mine. I can get coal. It's like the least convincing thing he's done in the entire movie. That's kind of why she was like, no, I'm out. She is smarter than he is of like what their future can entail.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Lee, what did you think about this couple?
So, I had many issues with the main characters. One, they're 10 years apart, and that's a little creepy even for the 1950s.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
It's supposed to be, though, right?
Yeah. Like
Okay.
He's clearly an older dude, and she's someone who
Well,
doesn't
like,
know that he's kind of
How
full of
old
shit.
is she? 16, 17, 18?
15.
15? Okay, so he's 25. He's pretty stupid young. It's still real creepy.
If they would have made him like 20 instead of 25, that would have been a little less creepy. It would still, I think, would have gotten the point across that he's this like weird older dude preying on a young girl without as creepy as it was.
Yeah,
I mean,
the age...
isn't it supposed to be really, really creepy? Like, I don't know. I guess I don't totally understand that critique, because I think that, like, I mean, I generally agree with you that, like, glorifying relationships between 25-year-olds and 16-year-olds, not so great. But this is not a glorified relationship.
See, and that's where I kind of disagree with you, because Sissy Spacek's narration for most of the movie talks about how she felt like she had to stay with him. Not because she wanted to, but because she felt like she had to. And that's a bunch of bullshit. She's 15 fucking years old. She should not be, like, responsible for a grown-ass man. I'm sorry.
Well, but she's 15 years old, so she doesn't know that, right? I mean, that's the whole reason that older men prey on younger girls.
I don't understand why... I don't understand her character's actions. That's my whole thing. Like, she had a fine life. She was happy. Why did she give all of that up?
Because she wants the same things that he does.
But then why did she go with the man who killed her father? That should have been the first red flag.
So,
Well, father killed the dog.
Okay, that was also fucked up.
So I think one of the things that I think is interesting about this movie is that it is based on a true story. And the beginning, although it deviates pretty far from that story at the end, the beginning is actually very similar, and begins with a couple where the serial killer boyfriend with a very similar age gap kills, actually I think it's something weird. I think it's her little sister. It's something, who's a child. It's something really pretty brutal. And she stays with him. And there's this moment, the moment that Sissy Spacek walks out of the high school, she sort of says, like, I could have walked away, but I didn't. And it's this moment that I think is important in part because we don't get a lot of sense of what her life was before he showed up, but what we know is that she's a teenager, that she has a father who certainly has a lot of opinions about, like, who she dates and what she does. And that she doesn't at any point seem to have a plan. Like, she has no plan. And I think that, to me, it makes total sense to me. How you make that first decision of, well, I don't have a plan. I'm maybe a little scared of him. He's convinced me that I can't, he's already looped me into this, right? He's already left the message on the answering machine saying that both of us died. He's already I'm already a part of this. And I'm going to go with him. And once you're with him, leaving becomes very scary.
Well, also, I mean, the film depicts him as charismatic, and there's something.
Was he though?
Yeah,
I think he was.
I didn't find him charismatic at all.
There's a reason that everyone calls him he looks like James Dean, because also he is purposely dressing like James Dean. And I think there's also something about the way that the way he thinks about their future and what they can do now is immature in a way that seems like, oh, our life can be with a bit of childlike wonder, because it's the best way to live, of the really elaborate treehouse they have. And not only that, you have him discuss things through her voiceover, we would change the passwords twice a day.
Right.
That's stupid. But also,
right.
There's elements of fun about what they're doing. Or
it's fun to kill
also,
people.
An element of safety and security. He's building a house for them. He's providing for her.
Right.
He killed the person who used to do that
She
for her.
had a house, though.
But I mean, if every character in every movie made rational choices all the time, a lot of movies wouldn't exist, right? The central moment, once the choice is made to go with him, I think it becomes her character does start to make a lot of sense about how you get codependent on someone, even someone you don't know very well. And I think he is really interesting as this sort of, I mean, he's a Korea vet in Arrested Development. You know, he's stuck as a 17-year-old boy who likes guns. And, you know, he's running, there's that scene where he's running what are clearly war drills in a field. And while she's talking about, you know, teaching her how to use a gun, and he's confusing, and he doesn't explain the reasons that he does what he does, which to many people makes somebody more interesting, not less.
Well, except for at one point, right, where she was talking about his rationale behind killing people, where it's okay, you can kill any witness, anything, so long as you're in it for keeps and the law is after you. Just basically leave no witnesses behind. And if you are in it for keeps, that is how you behave, but it's not... It's how okay she was with that. And how little she emoted about her dad's death. Maybe she didn't like him. Maybe they had a terrible...
Yeah, she went from being a wonderful little suburban girl with her dad and all of her music lessons after school to letting her father die.
But I think that's telling, right? I mean, I think the fact that she doesn't respond tells us an awful lot about her relationship with her father. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I don't think that it's not an accident that she doesn't emote. It's not a failure of character. It's that, you know, something is up. We never learn what it is exactly, but there is some reason why. I mean, she doesn't have a mom. She's a single dad. And, you know, we have only the barest hints of sort of some controlling behavior and the fact that she doesn't seem to like him very much.
Right. And
then he is dead, and her first thought is, what's my life going to look like? You know, there's no grief. That says a lot.
And it's so cool how Malick really treats her as the lens of the film. So to me, it's impressive that even though there is a body count in this movie, that's not the tone of the movie, because it's reflecting her affection and being intrigued by him, and that's kind of what guides the film. And once she starts to lose interest in him as someone even she respects, the film also fades away from that. And
I just think that's so fucking creepy to have this 15-year-old girl be the vehicle for this idolization of all of this violence of this older man who is emotionally abusing her. Fuck that. This movie's creepy. I'm sorry.
But it's not. But it's not saying that's a good thing. It's a portrait of the kind of fucked up relationship that this is. I mean, it's not saying let's all go out and be Sissy Spacek. It's saying this is how
But
this
she gets off
horror
fine.
show happens.
She ends up marrying a lawyer's son. That's her punishment.
Well, yeah, but I mean, that's sort of the thing, right? I mean, in reality, by the way, the girlfriend who had also participated more actively in the murders than Sissy Spacek's character did, gets life imprisonment, but is paroled after 17 years, and then has a very similar life to the one described as. I mean, she's still alive. She apparently got married and lives in Michigan, and the boyfriend was executed. And I think there's a lot about, I mean, this movie is about gender, and it's about the ways in which, it's about a girl who doesn't feel like she has options or a purpose and finds it in the wrong place. It's also about how, she doesn't go Patty Hearst on it, right? She doesn't join in. She is along for the ride in a way that is very, I don't know. I think it makes the fact that it ends up being an episode in her life. I don't know. It works for me.
She's just there as the vehicle. She's the narrator. She's the audience. She doesn't do anything. She's just there for Malick to divulge his exposition. That's all it is.
I completely disagree.
She has no personality. She has no emotions. You literally could get rid of her, and I feel like the movie would still be pretty similar.
I feel like, I mean, I agree with it. She doesn't do much. That's sort of the point. But the way that she describes things in the narration, the way that she describes him, like, it's all a commentary on how she views him and where she is. I mean, her feelings, I mean, she's a 15-year-old. 15-year-olds are idiots. And I think there is an element of the way that she looks at him. Like, she doesn't spend almost any time giving exposition. That's not what her narration is. She gives, where she's at, the kind of, or she gives details of scenes, but it's not like she doesn't narrate the film as, like, an outside narrator. If you replaced her with, like, Don LaFontaine, the movie would make no sense. She is, as a passive character, Malick gives her a subtle voice that I really appreciate.
I just wish it weren't as subtle, though, because she seems so disinterested in the narration, even, that I couldn't get behind it. Like, I wish she had a little more just reaction, maybe not overtly because she was along for the ride, but in her thoughts, in where she can be herself, she wasn't really much, at least
have her say in her narration, man, I'm really bummed that he killed my dad.
But she's not, right? That's the whole point. If she was bummed, it would come out. But she's not. And for a 15-year-old or a 16-year-old girl to say good riddance to their father being dead, like, the movie, like, paints in giant letters, like, something is up.
But we have I'm sorry, we don't have enough evidence at that point. At this point, all we see is a father who cares about his daughter and is working really hard and is making sure that she tries to stay away from bad influences by making her go to more music lessons. How is that a bad dad?
Because, I mean, we don't know.
We don't know, and I think that if they would have explained that a little bit more in the movie, that this guy was abusing his daughter or beating the shit out of her or something like that, fine. I will even give you that, and that will be a better motivator, but at this point, the audience knows nothing about the father except that he paints signs and he likes his daughter.
I think that the dog. That was kind of emotionally fucked up.
Yeah,
that I will give. But.
Yeah, I mean, that's a big deal. Like, that is a huge deal.
But she could even say, like, at least now I'm not with my dad who beat me, or
But, like,
he doesn't treat
why?
me
Like-
the same way when dad did.
Like, why would that? I mean, I understand everything you're saying, but I think we can differ on whether or not it's good. But all of those choices are clearly intentional, right? Malick is making a choice not to have her say those things. It doesn't mean that, like, it is. I mean, for me, like, the moment that she gets in that car after her father has been shot and killed in front of her, without that sense of fear, tells me everything I need to know about her childhood. I mean, because the level of fucked up that something has to be for you to be able to do that is so high. From there, I mean...
No,
like,
I disagree, because that could have been her not reacting, because she also is a sociopath, and she also has mental illnesses.
well, and I think that's
That
something
could
the
have
movie...
been, and that also would have been interesting. Instead, we don't have any of that fucking context. We
I
are
think
thrown
that...
into a situation with no context.
I agree that it is not voiced context. I don't want it to be voiced context. I'm much more interested in it being implied context. Obviously, we differ on whether or not that's good, but it's certainly intentional. And I certainly don't think that Malick doesn't know what he thinks of these characters.
The way Malick uses voiceover, and we saw that also with the little girl in Days of Heaven, is something I kind of mentioned on Let's Say 5 episodes. I feel horrible. I'm just repeating myself. But, like, it's this... his voiceover is not to provide, like, context for what happened in the scenes between scenes, or even, like, exactly, like, minute-to-minute reaction of what's going on screen for these characters. I always saw it as, like, a presentation of their soul and kind of where they are at emotionally and thematically and connecting with kind of other characters and typically literally the world around them. So I kept seeing a lot of her voiceover not to kind of provide background clues like that, but more as like what she feels about where she is as opposed to what is happening.
But see, like, in the Wheat film, there's...
Days of Heaven.
No,
Days of
it's
Heaven.
called
the-
Acclaimed
it's called-
film, Days of Heaven.
Just called the
Yeah.
Wheat Film, honey.
in Days of Heaven, there's enough action in at least one of the two respects, right? The voiceover or the film. There's enough going on in the film where, like, when you see the main guy come back and take them away from a perfectly fine, happy life, and they sort of go along without knowing, yeah, that's kind of the same as this movie. But there was more driving that decision, I felt like, or more helplessness even, in Days of Heaven than in this movie. In this movie, it just all seemed pointless to a degree that I just couldn't care enough about these people or anything they did at all.
None of the actions made sense.
Well, and I think that, I mean, I think the way I would describe it is the open question of the film, and which is definitely open to two interpretations, is this a portrait of the nihilism of late 50s youth? Like, are they actually both just, like, total sociopaths? Which is certainly, I mean, it's certainly something that some critics have basically, you know, have described them as sort of these, you know, sociopathic children of our time who are, you know, wandering through the world. But I think, you know, it gives both that and a deeper reading of who these people are. And Sissy Spacek, I like that she is neither a victim per se. Like, it's not like she's certainly not depicted as somebody who has never made a choice in this matter or who is actively being threatened. Like, she can leave and she does not do so, and she can stop him from killing other people, and she does not do so. But nor is she painted as, you know,
An accomplice, kind of.
yeah, she's a bystander in a very strange way that I found really compelling.
Yep. I think we should wrap it up, but to kind of tie it all back to some of our first thoughts about him as James Dean, I also kind of keep seeing this as a bit of a different kind of take on the Rebel Without a Cause themes.
Mm-hmm.
They are people who are growing up where their age doesn't have the structure that all generations had before them, and it's about them also struggling about what they want out of life, and that kind of comes across to violent and also weirdly peaceful conclusions of, like, the relationship they have with just when they're going through these kind of beautiful takes on the land and complete conflict with people because they just can't seem to function. I always felt sad for these characters. I didn't feel like angry at them. Badlands. Hinges 4.4.
4.7. I love this movie.
3.3.
I'll give it a 3.
All right, that is Badlands. It's available right now on Filmstruck and on the Criterion Collection. Boy, I can't wait for the Tree of Life to come up on this podcast. It's like the Wheat film of this film, except no plot and dinosaurs.
I've not seen that, so I'm excited.
Oh yeah, so good. Anyway, now it's time for the album. Lee, what do we hear this week?
This week we listen to Suzanne Vega by Suzanne Vega.
We go to the playground in the wintertime. The sun is fading fast upon the slides into the past, upon the swings of indecision in the wintertime. In the dimming diamonds, scattering in the park, in the tickling and the trembling of freeze tag in the dark. We play that we're actors on
Suzanne Vega is Suzanne Vega's debut album, came out in 1985. And this is just the most delightful little folky thing I think I've heard in a very long time.
Yeah, it's been a while since I would describe an album as like just beautiful. Like It was just so nice. The half hour just flew by with this album.
Like, I don't have a whole lot to say about it because the whole album was fairly repetitive. I felt like it sounded pretty much the exact same for all the half hour of it, but it wasn't bad. It wasn't unwelcomed. It was a nice, calming soundtrack for my morning.
Yeah, it I could always tell when a song changed and whatnot, but it was kind of just a really beautiful tone, and I thought really just nice, sweet lyrics. It wasn't a bad song in the whole batch. Who else heard this? Sarah, did you hear this?
I heard this, and Lee, maybe you can help me. I'm like I really liked it. I was trying to like figure out who she reminded me of, because she's got this sort of vaguely country, almost like twang to her background music, while still being like a female singer-songwriter kind of thing.
Oh, she kind of sounded like Emmylou Harris a little bit.
Yeah, that might be who I'm thinking of.
A couple of times.
Who does Fast Car?
That's Tracy Chapman.
Yeah, Tracy Chapman.
Yeah,
I got some
that
Tracy Chapman from
Yeah,
this.
that makes sense. Yeah, I liked it a lot because I really like Emmylou Harris and Tracy Chapman. I really liked it. I just didn't like it when she decided not to sing and then instead just like talked for a while. Like, she does this weird like talking thing that is non-melodic that is bad. But everything else I liked.
Oh boy, you just foreshadowed the song section.
Yeah, it didn't work. Like, she had a perfectly nice singing voice. I was every time she did that, I was like, but you could instead sing these, and then it would be better.
She does have a very wonderful, pleasant voice. I could listen to her voice all day.
Yeah.
I'm also a sucker for just a good acoustic guitar.
Mm-hmm.
Did her later albums get more complicated with its instruments, or did it stick with this kind of delightful simplicity? You know?
So, Suzanne Vega probably from Tom's Diner, which is her one-hit wonder. Like, outside of the top 40 Billboard charts, she has a very successful music career, but in the pop realm, Tom's Diner is that one song, that one.
Yeah. Oh,
yeah. It's on a later album where she's talking about sitting at a diner and watching people as they...
That's a very famous song.
It's a good little song, a cute little song, but that's probably what you know her from. I unfortunately don't know a lot about her career outside of Tom's Diner and this album now.
It's good, and I now got to look up Tom's Diner because I'm sure I know it.
Oh yeah,
But
you've heard it a billion times.
I feel like you just did the theme song for like most 80s TV show comedies, so it's hard for me to tell what that is.
Yeah, I don't really sing. Sorry.
It's all right. But yeah, there's like all of them just had a very sweet sound to it, and yeah, I was a fan of this. This was good stuff.
I really enjoy her lyrics. I didn't listen to a whole lot of them when I was actually like listening to the album. It was one that I went back and I read them because I read an interview that she did on Rolling Stone, and like everybody was asking her about the meaning of the one song on this album, Small Blue Thing. What's it mean, the small blue thing? Is it this? Does it mean that? Is it about abortion? And she's like, no, I just felt small and kind of sad. Ta-da!
I kind of felt that also for like Undertow.
Yeah.
I was like, is this a metaphor, or is it just a really beautiful look at kind of the water coming in and such?
I think that she is a more literal lyricist. Like, I say that weirdly. Not literal, like a literal poetic lyricist. If that makes any sense. Like, she doesn't go into the big, huge, abstract thoughts and everything. It's like, if I felt sad, I wrote a song about how I was sad. The end.
Yeah, and there's nothing inherently bad about that. Especially
No,
when,
I love
when
it.
It works so well with this. Marlene on the Wall and Freeze Tag were two of my favorites of the album.
I liked Straight Lines.
Straight
That
Lines,
was
very
a good
good.
one.
Yeah. Good
Good
album.
Yes.
Lee, what would you give it hinge-wise?
I'll go to 4. I'm definitely going to search out more Suzanne Vega outside of, this album and Tom's Diner.
Yeah, I'm going to give it a 4.1. And Sarah?
4.1.
All right, that is Suzanne Vega by Suzanne Vega, produced by Suzanne Vega, vocals by Suzanne Vega, and acoustic guitar by Suzanne Vega.
Yeah.
Now it's time for the food section, where Pedro gets mad that Sarah didn't kill a sheep.
I'm not eating sheep's head. Like, look, if something happens in my life and I'm at a fancy restaurant and they're like, this is some real good sheep's head, maybe, but I'm not just gonna buy some sheep's head and make it. It's a terrible idea that will lead to sadness and prion diseases. So, no.
It's also like a whole
Fair
ordeal.
Yeah, I know. I've heard it's apparently a delicacy. I'm sure
There's
it's
gotta be
great.
a restaurant around here that prepares it, right?
There is not. I looked.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Delicacies are also just like
Delicacy.
rich people declaring things.
But see,
Like,
I do feel like delicacy is usually code for tastes bad.
I don't know. I mean, cheeks are supposed to be nice and tender. So is tongue.
There's
I've had tongue before in a taco.
the
had tongue
one of my
before.
favorite restaurants serves pig cheeks, and they are indeed excellent. But I do not have a sheep's head. We are not eating a sheep's head today. If someday in the future I eat a sheep's head, I will let you know.
Perfect.
I'm just picturing right now, obviously, a giant head on a plate.
Yeah.
Which reminds me also of A Christmas Story, where they have Christmas and they get the bird and the head still on. And they try to mention to the Chinese staff, like, can you bring it back without the head on? It's kind of upsetting the kids. And they go, oh, okay. And they chop off the head at the
Yes.
table. And I think the mom just starts crying and cuts the next scene. Christmas Story.
I
Good
haven't
stuff.
seen that movie.
Yay!
It's good.
Yeah.
If you have TBS, it's the easy way to watch it during December.
Or, if you attended
Indiana
school
just in
in
general.
Indiana.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've actually never seen it.
What?
They put it on TV.
You're in Indiana right now.
I know.
It's a good movie.
Meh.
Sarah, didn't you dismiss it recently?
Yeah, I watched it recently. It was fine.
What's going on here, Pedro?
I also think it's meh.
What the fuck is happening? You're all wrong about so many things. And speaking of so many things
Yes.
and wrong, maybe.
Yup.
Pedro, what the fuck was the song?
The song is Oh Superman by Laurie Anderson.
Oh, Superman. Oh, John. Oh, Mom and Dad. Mom and Dad. Oh, Superman. John. Oh, Mom and Dad. Mom and Dad.
Oh, Superman is the first hit of Laurie Anderson's. Came out in 1981.
Did she have another one?
Define hit.
No, she did not have another one.
So there's a phrase for that.
It's called
Her.
a one-hit wonder.
But it wasn't quite like, it didn't like skyrocket worldwide, that sort of thing.
Oh, so it was just not a hit.
It was oddly popular in the UK, hit number 2.
That's
It
always the clue for these lists.
Made
Yep.
her, it brought her into like the music scene. She's a performance artist and other things, among other things.
She's a performance artist?
Mhm.
Could not tell from the music
Couldn't-
video.
couldn't
I
tell.
know, right? It was actually a pretty fun music video.
It was something.
It's a very minimalist song. I keep saying that she does a lot of avant-garde stuff. This would probably fit that bill. I don't know what I'd call this. Electronic. Well, let's see. We got the list: electronic, art pop, new wave, experimental pop, and minimalism.
Sure.
There you go. Those
We'll
are
go
all
with it.
true.
You can't do minimalism if it's 5 different genres. A
No,
true
but it's-
minimalist would just have one genre.
The song is minimalist in that it's
I'm joking.
literally okay. Good. It just alternates between 2 chords. I think Wikipedia says it's A flat minor and A flat major and C minor. One of those. Well, both of those in a way. And it just has her in electronic voice singing ha 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 over and over again in C, which is the bass note between the alternating chords, and then she just kind of sings the lines in a more electronic voice. And it's interesting. The words are odd. Apparently some of...
Give us a sample.
Oh, Superman?
That's the
That's the
title.
song we're talking about, yep.
Let's see here. I've got the lyrics. Blah, 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 blah. Well, so it's basically a stranger calling an answering machine. And it's like, hello, this is your mother. Are you there? Are you coming home? Is anybody home? And just keeps, and then eventually the person who she's trying to call says, who are you really? It's like, I'm the hand that takes. And it's all weird and stuff. I don't know.
As much as I'm making fun of this, I actually didn't hate this song.
It's not bad. It's just very odd and long. It's a
Yeah.
very long song, about 8 minutes.
You know when you go to a modern art museum and you're walking through a bunch of modern art and then there's that little weird theater
Mm-hmm.
and you go and sit in the little weird theater and some deeply strange video is playing and you sit there for a second because you've been walking a lot and you kind of want to sit down and you sort of zone out and then you're like, what am I watching? That's this song.
And, yeah, because all performance pieces are inherently pretentious. I've yet to see one that isn't. But there's something that I actually found rather, soothing about this song.
I did not.
Like,
I did not at
It was
all.
kind of the point because some of the background or motivation, I guess, for the song was the American involvement in Iran and the Iran hostage crisis.
what?
Sure.
Yeah, that's a bit with American planes and they're coming and fossil fuels or all that stuff. So yeah, and then she kind of wanted to.
That went over my head.
Me too. I had to find it in multiple sources, but she kind of wanted to bring sort of the same. Oh, what is it? I forget how to say it. Rather than horror, have the same sort of whoa in not horror, if that makes sense.
Nope.
Cool.
Yeah, it worked because maybe that is a bit of the point of the song where it are these deeper things that can kind of sneak into the background as if you're walking around while the answer machine's going off. I guess that was effective to me because that is just a very this is a good song to slowly wake up to. Okay, I'm getting into consciousness. I guess I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Lee, what do you think?
It was a very calming song that made me feel okay about the world going to end.
Like the album last week.
Yeah, it was the world is going to end, but I'm okay because I'm this very calm, soothing tone of voice telling you that everything's going to be fine.
The bombs are coming, but here's a pillow. It's nice and soft.
Just hold
I'm
me,
going to
Mom.
hug you now.
Hold me in
Aw.
your arms, your long arms, your petrochemical arms.
Yeah.
It's a little
I
illusion
liked
there.
this song. I thought it was fun.
It was. And the music video was actually kind of fun to watch.
I liked the music video too.
And also in a way, like it's weird and experimental, but not like it doesn't break the tone of the song. Like it's just like, okay, now she's frozen. Now she's going to flitter away.
Apparently
New colors.
Some of the shadow stuff that she was doing was sign language. It just looked like she was doing like a dog in shadow, but for some of the lyrics.
I just watched A Quiet Place. I should have caught on by this.
I know, right? Gosh.
I know.
Well, it's a fun song. It's sort of based off of also an opera, Le Cid by Massenet.
What?
Oh.
Yeah. I mean, it's titled O Sovereign, O Judge, O Father. So, O Superman, O Judge, O Mom and Dad.
When I saw the title of this song and by the click on it, for some reason I didn't know if it was going to be the theme song to Scrubs. It wasn't.
No, it was not.
I just, in the back of my mind, thought maybe that song is called O Superman. But it's such
What is that song actually called?
Kryptonite, I think.
It's the opposite of that.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
All right.
Chemical Arms.
All right, Hinges.
3.7. Not bad. Not a bad song.
3.2.
I did not like this song. 2.7.
375.
All right. Lee with the highest vote there.
Yeah.
It's weird and goofy. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
And speaking of something that really wished it was weird and goofy, Charm. Charmed is a show that ran on the WB for a while, 8 or 9 seasons. Let's double check my notes. It stars, oh Jesus Christ! I can't believe I watched Charmed. Charmed was desperately trying just to do Buffy without any like the thought or themes or plotting behind Buffy. Jesus Christ! It was created by Constance and Burge, but she actually had very little involvement in the show. It kind of worked as a Aaron Spelling joint. It is about 3 sisters who find out they are the most powerful witches in the world. Played by Shannon Doherty of Beverly Hills 90210 fame. Holly Marie Combs of that poker scene in Ocean's 11 fame. And Alyssa Milano, is in Who's the Boss and other things. They are 3 sisters who have to stop warlocks and demons using their powers of moving things, freezing time, and premonitions. And they have to fight the demons and such. I watched a season and a half of this, but this is also one that I saw like a bunch when I was younger, just because it aired on TNT forever. It's actually hard to imagine this not as a TNT show, but no, it actually did air with new episodes on the WB. I'm going to rant a lot about this. I'm going to let Sarah jump in early.
The show's bad. You should feel bad. This is lazy Buffy. Like, really lazy Buffy. It's like, the show is lazy. Like, everything about all of its plotting is lazy. Its mythology is lazy. The actresses are perfectly fine. The side characters are terrible. And the monsters of the week are boring. Special effects are terrible. They kill all the monsters by throwing them into walls. It's a bad show that should feel bad about itself at the end.
That is shockingly, because I watched like 30, 40 episodes, I'd say 95% of them were defeated by throwing them against a wall and they just kind of explode. The other ones are just like, they made a potion, they even described what bullshit ingredients are in the potion, and threw at them. And they always just burst into flames and then disappear with no actual, like, remnants in the house.
Yep.
So the main showrunner of this was not the female creator who wanted to make a show about sisterhood, but a guy named Brad Kern.
The creator always wanted to say, this is a show about sisters who happen to be witches, not witches who happen to be sisters.
Yeah. No.
That show is never that clever.
No.
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 So Brad Kern really ran the show, and it's kind of curious because episode 1, flat dialogue, kind of stupid, but at least has the ideas of personal conflict. Phoebe had been away for many years, really kind of fell apart from being sisters after their mom died, and now they're all kind of reconnecting and they're all different parts of their life. That is actually ideas of a drama. Those are all thrown out the window by episode 2, which was written by Brad Kern, and where everyone is slut-shamed. There are so many dialogue scenes about how awful it was that Prue had sex with her ex-boyfriend, and it has to be discussed in public by everyone, and how everyone's ashamed of her.
Yeah, it's a big old sex shaming show.
And that continues for pretty much the entire show. It is weird how many shows begin with a sister accusing the other one of having sex last night and vehemently denying it.
Yeah.
And the show, I hate saying this as a straight white dude, but it seems really terrible to women.
It is really terrible to women.
Okay, I got the backup.
And the worst thing is, it's the worst kind of show that's terrible to women. It's a show that it's giving. Literally, when I watch Charmed, I feel like there's a white dude shouting at me, "See, we gave you a show with women, you happy?" And I'm just making a shitty show that's exactly as shitty as everything else on television and worse, but is somehow made all the more offensive by the fact that it even claims to be pro-woman.
Yeah, and boy, it devolved that way. I mean, the first few seasons are all just wearing ridiculous 90s attire.
Hey, there's not. Hey. Let's not diss the fashion here. The fashion in Charmed...
Are you kidding me?
No, it's bad, but the fashion in Charmed is on point for the time that this show is made. Much like Buffy, this show embraces that its characters are genuinely supposed to be on the cutting edge of style.
Yes.
Which means they look ridiculous at all times because it is the late 90s and early 2000s when people wore dumb stuff. And I know because when I was growing up, I thought all of them looked really cool because I was an 11-year-old and they seemed cool, or 12-year-old, and I did not register that they looked super friggin' weird until now when I have watched the show and been like, oh no. But at the time, showing your midriff and also wearing some sort of flowy half cardigan that buttons at the top in the same color as a sort of weird Britney Spears sweater set was totally cool.
They'll go to work wearing that too.
Oh yeah, no, it's it honestly the only thing that's fun about watching Charmed, which is mostly a joyless, boring show, is the time capsule it is of the early 2000s.
But it's also a strange thing because in the early seasons that is pretty much it. A lot of bare midriffs. But then the show really just became ridiculously sexualizing all of its characters.
So did the early 2000s.
Yeah, but there's something about how the show was all of them as season 1, all the images are them as sisters, and here we are. This is about thing. The actual image for the show on Netflix is basically them in a lingerie, hair blowing. How ridiculously sexy these 3 sisters are hanging out together.
Yeah.
It becomes that kind of cheap cleavage entertainment.
Which is weird because no dudes watch Charmed, right? No dudes watch Charmed TNT, on purpose. Right? I also watched Charmed because it was on reruns on TNT between 5 and 7 p.m. on weeknights, which is when I watched all TV that I ever watched, but no dude watched new episodes of Charmed on purpose.
There's no viewing parties.
Yeah, that's not a thing.
What's going to happen next with this character?
There is no genuine serialization. The show in no way assumes that you have seen the previous episode.
Oh, no. It gets insanely serialized after a couple seasons.
Oh boy.
I mean,
That's a bad idea.
They start a magic school. Apocalypse is
God.
happening. The one, like, from my memory, because I didn't see any again, the one, like, serialized thing that actually did kind of work for the show, thanks to the actors involved, was when Phoebe was dating that demon guy played by Julian.
I remember that.
What's
that
his
was
face?
fine.
Who went on to be Doctor Doom in the Baptist of 4 films. I say
Yeah,
bad ones as if there are
As
good
if there are
ones.
good ones, we watched them all. But
Is this the baby daddy in Womb Raider?
Yes.
Cool.
I had Pedro pick one episode to watch recently, and he picked Womb Raider because, boy, they have
because
plenty
why
titles.
wouldn't you? I mean, I will say some of those titles are kind of good.
Yeah, they are.
There are they're no NYPD Blue titles,
No, those were great titles.
but
Every episode is so beginning to end awful of writing, plotting, and also just showing that the 3 most powerful witches on the planet are so horribly incompetent to the point when they don't even, like, trust each other in the slightest.
So this is the thing. So the reason Charmed is stupid, Buffy, and, like, let's be clear, like, it started the year after Buffy. Its entire purpose was to be Buffy on and get that exact fan group. The thing about Buffy that makes Buffy work is that it's set in a high school. And so its characters can be deeply stupid in ways that make the plot more interesting and exciting because they're teenagers and they're making teenage mistakes. Charmed is about adult women. Like, and...
Well, Phoebe talks like a baby for half the show.
Right, and so nothing about their behavior, like, we are supposed to believe that these women are, like, capable humans who can hold down jobs. One of them owns a business, and there's nothing...
Oh, yeah, let's pretend that's a real thing.
And there's nothing in any of their behavior that suggests that they can get out of bed in the morning without tripping and falling on their faces. Like, they are dumb. They are dumb, self-absorbed characters who are dumb.
Yeah, Piper owns a club in season 2, because season 1 is mostly her working as a chef and being told by so many men that she's terrible at her job.
Which she is.
Oh, well, yeah. Lot of mansplaining in this show.
Oh, so much mansplaining.
Oh, don't worry, I watched Cupid mansplain love and emotions to Phoebe.
That's great.
No, it's not. It's really awful. Also the show has little to no sense of humor.
No, that's the problem.
They say puns, but I jumped ahead and watched one episode which involved a demon wanting to take this girl, like, to hell with her because he's in love with her and he's, like, a rapey demon.
Sure.
But she's in love with someone else. So his most logical plan is he makes the boyfriend turn into an owl during the daytime.
Oh my god, that one was super friggin' weird.
And she's a wolf during the nighttime, thinking this long-distance strain will break them up. And there is no acknowledgement of the show that this is batshit insane.
Yeah.
The weirdest plan ever, or even that any of this is funny. It is taken so seriously, and also...
It's really something.
They spend the entire episode of Piper deciding this is a metaphor for her... how she can't get married the way she wants to Leo, because most of this plot is them discussing their boyfriends.
And this is the other thing, the other reason Buffy is better, is, Buffy is all, monsters who are metaphors for teenage problems, right? That's like the classic Buffy monster of the week. The show works because the characters don't go, oh, this is just like my latent fear of sex.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because if they did, it would be bad. In Charmed, they do. And it's the worst.
Well, they typically don't have any themes, so when they do, it is so offensive. Like, one episode had them all magically go to the future 10 years.
This episode, weirdly, this is the best episode of Charmed I've seen, which is bad.
Well, I mean, it's terrible. Also, Charmed is no Black Mirror of how it thinks the future's going to look like.
No, not at all.
Although one episode, which wasn't in the future, just in the present, had two characters discuss, like, their New Year's plans, because it was the year 2000, and all they said was, so how'd you handle Y2K? Oh, it wasn't a big deal. I think it was just overhyped. Which means they filmed that way before the new year and thought, let's just place our bets, and maybe Y2K was terrible.
I actually feel like that the show does have a Y2K subplot. Like, that there's something that happens. I don't remember.
Nope.
Maybe I'm crazy.
Isn't like a demon or...
When there was a demon.
It's not that clever.
No.
But anyway, they all go to the future, recognize that Phoebe's about to be burned as a witch.
And that sounds so great.
Peru is a platinum blonde workaholic who doesn't know how to find love, and Piper is married to the angel dude, but is also not taking care of her kids enough. Anyway, all this basically happened because the gods wanted them to recognize that they were being too selfish with their powers, because at the beginning of the episode, they freeze time and move a guy slightly to the right because he keeps having the dog poop in front of their house, and they want to have him step in it. Because this is a show, much like Frozen, where they have these awesome, cool powers, but the mythology says if you ever use them for anything cool ever, you are a horrible person and should die for it.
Yep.
Iron Man gets to fly around and do cool stuff.
But that's because he's a man.
Yeah, these women are frequently punished if they use their power for anything that, according to personal gain. But they don't really care because they never really talk about the fact that they're witches. They just talk about... They literally often say, like, well, this demon's going after this. We'll talk about that later. Because I'm really worried that so-and-so doesn't like me because I keep doing this. It's all boyfriend talk. And it's only for Piper and Prue, weirdly enough, because I think the show treats Phoebe like a whore or a child, because she is not allowed to have love for the whole show that I've seen so far. Show's terrible. Fucking hate it.
It's really terrible.
I can't believe it lasted this long. But then again, it was the WB, so they had like 4
everything
shows.
gets to stay on forever, yeah.
Shannon Doherty does leave after season 3 because apparently she just hated everybody and everyone hated her. The creator was forced out. Mostly men wrote the show.
And can't you tell?
Men definitely directed like the whole series. Rose McGowan takes over as the long lost stepsister.
And she is marginal, like she's marginally interesting.
No,
like, she's not worse than the other sisters. I mean, like,
she is better, but she's still. And this is not how like Rose McGowan's thing. She has to play the character as stupid because the dialogue is so impossibly stupid that no one looks smart on this show.
No.
Show's terrible.
It's terrible.
Terrible show. One Hinge.
Oh, one seems... Some people liked this when it was on.
Those people were wrong.
It's memorable. I will give it 2 henges.
Okay. That is Charmed. The whole series is on Netflix. If I ever finish the show, I'll come back and say how much it gets better.
But like, don't do it. You don't like the show, so don't watch it.
But they add
don't
Kaylee Kauko
watch
to the show.
Things you don't like, Austin.
You guys want to update on where Gotham is this season?
Don't do it.
Oh boy. The Riddler might get his intelligence back.
Oh my god.
Sweet. Because he was frozen on ice.
Pedro, what's the next number?
3 times 5. 315.
Age of the Shield went to the future.
Oh my god. 315. Sounds great. My food is word salad. Literally, my food is Afugiel Pitu. AFUGEA''L''Pitu, which is a Klingon name, and apparently a kind of cheese.
Yeah, well, my album is word salad, too. I want to see The Bright Lights Tonight by Richard and Linda Thompson.
Wait, you want to see the...
That makes sense.
Okay, so the whole thing is... Okay, cool.
It's a very long title. That's what the joke was.
The Incredible Hulk had to fly a plane.
The movie, I'm doing it for you if you don't do it, the movie's Night of Cabiria.
Yep, we're doing our first Federico Fellini film, which is a big deal.
Cool. The song is In a Broken Dream by Python Lee Jackson.
I want to be a Python.
Right?
You hate snakes. You're terrified of snakes.
Yeah, I take on their name as a mantle to show that I do not fear them.
Like Batman.
It's a great computer
Just
code.
like Batman.
Okay, so you want to go as Python now?
Yeah.
Great.
He loved bats.
What?
No, he didn't.
After he got over his fear by being stuck in a cave with
I don't think the implication is ever that he's like the bat boy who strokes the bats because they are his friend. Like, it's always just like, I'm not afraid of things anymore.
Yeah,
it's not like
bats.
It's not like he likes the bats.
Yeah, but he doesn't dislike them.
There was a charm demon who killed witches by
What's
showing
the TV show?
By showing them
The
the
Day of
greatest
the
fear.
Trippids.
By showing them the greatest fear, and he was defeated because Prue literally said, "I'm not scared of that anymore," and he blew up.
The TV show's The Day of the Triffids, and we should finish this episode before we have to talk about Charmed anymore.
That's the 80s miniseries of The Day of the Triffids, by the way.
Sounds good.
Say everything?
Yep.
Cool.
I
Let us know what you thought of this bullshit if you go to the arttomorrow.com.
If you're like a huge fan of Charmed, like I want to hear from you because there are mostly women in the world for whom this show was important in the way that Buffy was important to me. Why? Tell us on the arttomorrow.com if this resonates.
Yep, leave a comment below. Also, let us know what you think of Badlands or the music to listen to this week. While you're there, check out some other cool podcasts, including Let's Take 5. As I mentioned earlier, we are in the middle of our Terrence Malick 5, so you can hear another half-hour discussion of Badlands and Days of Heaven, as I do with my co-host Eric Martindale. We had to take last week off, sorry for the confusion, because Eric is sick and couldn't talk. But we're back this week with episode 99. We'll be discussing Terrence Malick's Pocahontas movie, The New World, which is fantastic.
Huh.
Big fan. Colin Farrell as John Smith. Christian Bale reprising his role as John Rolfe, because he was also that in the Disney film.
No way!
Oh, yeah.
That's hilarious.
He has like 5 lines, and he's like 10 years old, but whatever.
That's really funny.
And Ad Absurdum is back with the episode about Escape from New York.
Yep.
Which I heard recently, and it was delightful, because...
It's a weird movie.
Like most Ad Absurdum episodes, it's scary how much this could happen.
Yeah.
Especially if your president is a goddamn moron.
Yep.
And follow us on Twitter at the Immortals Pod. Lee runs that very well. Special thanks to Adam Lord for the music, Sara Rust for editing the show. Leave us a review on iTunes so more people can find this show. That's a cool thing people can do.
Yup.
Until then, we'll be back next week with those cool things, including our first Fellini film. I'm Austin Luger, or just Austin, whatever I do this show.
I'm Sarah.
I'm Lee.
And I'm Pedro.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Even if I am in love with you, all this to say, what's it to you? Observe the blood, the rose tattoo of the fingerprints on me from you. Other evidence has shown that you and I are still alone. We skirt around the danger zone and don't talk about it later. Marlena watches from the wall, her mocking smile says it all as she records the rise and fall of every soldier passing. But the only soldier now is me. I'm fighting things I cannot see. I think it's called my destiny that I am changed.